Naruto Having the Jogan was a fun story we made. I had an absolute blast writing it, particularly because I took liberties and certain creative freedoms to make a story into whatever I wanted it to be, regardless of canon and official timelines. And the same is true for this here. I'm hoping to do it again. I want to envision a world where Naruto had the Jogan, a world where he lived with the Hyuga clan, and a world where he, Hinata, Hanabi, Neji, and even Tonerio Otsutsuki all grew up together as friends. I hope you'll follow me as we continue this line of thought. So again, I ask all viewers to direct their gaze up toward the moon, so we may once more explore a possible world that exists only within the confines of Genjutsu. Let's get started. Welcome to the Amagi. Before we begin, we publish a new video every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. We've also noticed that a lot of people who are watching our videos aren't subscribed to our channel. We understand that YouTube does do a very good job of recommending you what you want to watch, but if you don't want to miss a video and if you want to support the Amagi, please hit that subscribe button. The Amagi's reach stretches beyond just this channel, so if you're a fan of us, please consider subscribing to our other channels and following us on all of our social media. Help us reach our goal of passing 100,000 followers on all of our accounts by the end of the year. Thanks so much. Hey, Naruto, over here. Naruto ran through the streets and met up with Hinata and Hanabi. By their side was Tonerio Otsutsuki. Naruto had grown. He was taller, stronger, far more powerful than he had been previously. His age was 16 and his age range was mirrored by his friends who had also grown. Hinata had grown herself, getting taller and more beautiful with each passing year, something Naruto was slowly finding himself smitten by. Toneri had also grown too, though he seemed equally interested in Hinata, though it was obvious to him that she appreciated Naruto far more. This led to Toneri feeling jealous, but he never really seemed to resent Naruto for this. And Hanabi, well, she was still the same adorable being she always was, being around the age of 11. She remained, as she always was with Naruto, that adorable little sister who he would give his life for. He made it over. "What's up, Hinata?" "Me, Toneri, and Hanabi were going to see a movie and wondered if you wanted to come with." Naruto nodded. He looked around. "Neji isn't here? I haven't seen him in a while. Where is he?" "Oh, he's off on a mission with Guy, Lee, and Tenten. He should be back any day now." "That's good," Naruto said. "I just got off a mission with Team 7 myself. I need some time to wind down." The group made their way off to see the movie. Things truly had changed in the past few years, and some things didn't. One thing that hadn't changed was the mysterious nature of Naruto's dojutsu. Despite possessing access to the Moon Clan's vast repository of knowledge, they still hadn't learned anything new about Naruto's dojutsu. For the longest time, they believed it to be a Tenseigan, but now that Toneri was here and possessed a pair, it seemed unlikely that it was one, not to mention that it displayed none of the powers of a Tenseigan. They just had to face the facts. They didn't know what it was, and they may never know what it was. It was just Naruto's pure eye, his Jogan, and they were okay with that. He remained a member of the Hyuga clan, and that would not change. They were now his family, and regardless of what anyone said, he belonged there. After the movie, they went out to get something to eat before returning home. Sitting on the steps outside, Naruto and Hinata had a moment alone. "So, what do you think about what I, told you a couple days ago?" he asked her. She turned to him with a gentle smile. "I think it's a wonderful idea. I know my father will approve. You're a wonderful boy, Naruto." Naruto smiled. "You're a wonderful girl," he said. The awkwardness was so thick that you could cut it with a knife, but neither party seemed to mind. They knew that they were merely human, and nervousness was to be expected from two young people who had found themselves in love. She leaned closer as he did. Their heads touched for a moment before their hands slowly reached for the others as their lips grew closer. Before they kissed, however, Naruto's eyes opened. He saw standing off just to the side was Neji. Naruto pulled back a little. "Sorry, Neji, I didn't notice you." Neji just stood there, staring at them for a while. Naruto waited for a moment, his brow furrowing in confusion. "Neji?" Suddenly, Neji fell forward, his hand leaving behind a bloody mark on the wall. He hit the floor with a loud thud. Naruto stood. "Neji!" He ran over to him as Hiyashi came to the door to see what happened. "Neji!" He also rushed over. "What happened?" Hinata, beginning to cry a bit, spoke. "I don't know. He just walked in and there was blood and..." Hiyashi rolled him on his back. "He's been stabbed. Hinata, get a medical nin." Hinata ran off out the door to search for anyone to help. Hiyashi looked to Naruto. "Hurry! Help me get him up." Naruto lifted his legs while Hiyashi lifted his torso. They both carried Neji to his room and laid him on his bed. Hiyashi placed his hands against the wound. "Hurry, Naruto. Get me something to staunch the bleeding with." Naruto ran off toward the kitchen where he grabbed a clean towel. He rushed back to Hiyashi with it, and Hiyashi pressed it against the wound. Neji! Neji, can you hear me? Neji's face merely contorted in pain as he let out a slight groan from the pressure applied to his wound. Eventually, Hinata rushed back to her father with the medical nin. The shinobi began to check him over. The medical nin requested room to work, and Naruto and Hiyashi were eager to do as asked, hoping that this would help save Neji's life. They waited outside when suddenly the medical nin approached. I managed to stop the bleeding. He should be fine if given proper time to heal. Hiyashi let out a sigh of relief. Can I speak with him? The medical nin nodded. If he's conscious, he should be capable of speech. But remember to let him rest. Rest is the best medicine. Hiyashi thanked the medical nin and made his way into Neji's room. Naruto and Hinata waited outside the door. Hiyashi sat down and put his hand on Neji's. Neji, what happened? Neji's eyes slowly opened. There was a man. It was a routine escort op. We were only supposed to defend the aid to the daimyo. We took him from one village to the next. It wasn't supposed to be dangerous. We were only there to defend against bandits, but Neji's face contorted in pain for a moment before returning to normal. A man appeared. A man? Hiyashi asked. What did he look like? I don't know. He wore a mask. I couldn't make out his appearance. He killed Guy, Lee, Tenten. I was the only survivor. Hiyashi looked down with a sigh. I'm sorry to hear that. Neji shook his head. No, it's my fault. I should have been able to beat him. I hold within myself the knowledge of the gentle fist. I carry with me the pride of the Hyuga. To be so easily defeated, I feel like a fool. Hiyashi shook his head and placed his hand on Neji's cheek. No, you're no fool. You're strong and wise. The fact that you survived at all, even when your Jonin perished, is a great compliment to our clan. Hiyashi stood. You should get some rest. He turned to leave when suddenly Neji called out to him, stopping him. Wait! Neji took a deep breath and prepared for the pain as he spoke louder. The man said something to us. He asked us a question before he attacked. What was it? Hiyashi asked. Neji took another deep breath. He asked us, where is the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails? Hiyashi stood there, silent for a moment. Someone was looking for Naruto? Someone wanted his tailed beast, but why? I will need to speak with Hiruzen about this. Thank you for the information. Now, please, rest up. Hiyashi stepped out and walked past Naruto and Hinata. He said nothing to either of them. He had something more important to do. Naruto sat down once more on the steps where he and Hinata were having their romantic moment. But now, the feeling, the mood was entirely different. They wanted me? Because I'm the vessel of the Nine Tails. Why? Hinata sat there, silent. Within you is something powerful, Naruto. A force of nature. And so long as it's within you, there will always be those who fear your power and those who covet it. Naruto shook his head. Who though? Who could want this power that badly? Hinata shrugged. Perhaps it was those who freed it from your mother on the day of your birth. Naruto sat there. I just feel so bad. Neji got hurt because of me, because someone was looking for me. And now because of me, Rock Lee, Tenten, and Gai-sensei are all dead. Hinata hugged Naruto. No, don't say that. It's not your fault. You can't help who you are and you can't help what other people do. Don't be so hard on yourself. Nobody blames you for anything, Naruto. He almost seemed ready to cry. First my parents, then Toneri's father, and now Guy, Tenten, and Bushy Brows. Why does everyone die because of me? All Hinata could do was hug him. There was nothing she could say or do to change what happened. Elsewhere, Hiyashi met with Hiruzen. I've come to report something, Hiyashi said. It has to do with Team Guy. Hiruzen sat at his desk smoking his pipe. I heard that they had been decimated. Only Neji survived. Hiyashi nods in agreement, sorrowfully confirming Hiruzen's information. But there's a bit more to it than that. Neji returned, wounded, to the Hyuga compound. We stabilized him, and he said something to me. He said that they were attacked by a masked man, a man who asked them for Naruto, the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails. Hiruzen sat there silently for a moment. So this had nothing to do with the aid at all, did it? They merely wanted information on where Naruto is. Hiyashi thought for a moment. Could it be possible that whoever's asking for Naruto now is the same as the people who let the Nine Tails out of Kushina 16 years ago? It's possible. Hiruzen took a puff from his pipe and let it out. After a certain period of silence, Hiruzen spoke. The timing, it's too perfect. What do you mean? Hiyashi asked. You remember we were supposed to do the Chunin exams close to 3 years ago? Well, we finally got our chance to do it again. And this time, all 5 great nations are attending. Village security will be at an all-time low, and now we've come to realize that Naruto is in danger. Then what do you suppose we do? Hiyashi asked. Hiruzen thought about it for a moment. It would be far too dangerous to let him remain. I believe we need to take him out of the village. Hiyashi sighed. I don't know if Naruto is going to go for that. He's desperate about attending the Chunin exams. Hiruzen considered it. Well, if so, I don't want him anywhere without a proper guard. I'm going to assign him an escort. Someone unsuspecting. Someone I know well. Hiyashi waited for a moment. Who? Naruto lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling. His room was halfway between Neji's and Hiyashi's. Despite that, he could almost hear Neji moaning in pain. Perhaps what he heard was his own guilty conscience. As he tried to sleep, he couldn't help but dream about the day he lost his parents. The memory was false, as he could not remember that far back, or perhaps it was true. Who knew what he was remembering? All he remembered was being inside of his mother and suddenly not being there. Suddenly being in the cold. Feeling so violated as he was forced to merge his being with another. Having to share a body with some foreign entity of which there was much contempt between them. Who was it that had freed the Ninetales? Who was it that had attacked Neji and his team? Why? The day after, Naruto awakened to find someone sitting in the main living quarters with Hiyashi. Naruto rubbed his eyes and blinked away the fog. It was a man with white hair. Hiyashi invited Naruto in and introduced him. Naruto, this is Jiraiya. He's one of Hiruzen's most prized pupils. He's been invited here to be your personal guard during the Chunin exams, all to ensure that you're safe while you take the test. Naruto offered a bow to be polite. It's a pleasure to meet you, Naruto said. The man with a short white beard running his jawline gave a nod with a rather serious expression. The pleasure is mine, he said in a voice that hinted a no-nonsense mentality. I recall my time during the Chunin exams. Me, Orochimaru, and Tsunade were a force to be reckoned with. Hardly any problem passing at all, he said, without even a hint of humor or levity in his voice. This man was all business. You're free to roam the village at your leisure, Naruto, but Jiraiya here, as well as the assigned Anbu agents, must remain close at all times. Do you understand? Naruto nodded. Yes, uncle. And so Naruto was slowly tailed by Jiraiya everywhere he went. The man never spoke to him unless spoken to first. Naruto had been told by others that Jiraiya was the one who had trained his father. Naruto would often attempt to communicate with Jiraiya only for Jiraiya to ignore him. But on the few occasions he managed to catch Jiraiya, he would speak about the past, most prominently about Minato and Kushina. As they sat at Ichiraku Ramen, they spoke. So, what was my dad like? Jiraiya would take a silent slurp of his ramen. Your father was a powerful shinobi, one of the strongest I ever trained. His speed and blonde hair earned him the nickname Konoha's Yellow Flash. He was the one to develop the technique known as the Rasengan, a technique that's become a part of my own essential arsenal. Naruto's eyes widened. My father created a ninjutsu? Indeed. Naruto then spoke. Can you teach it to me? Jiraiya thought for a moment. I can, but it may take some time. You must be patient. And so Jiraiya began to help him generate the Rasengan. He taught him how much volume he required. He taught him rotation. He taught him advanced chakra molding. What was most important was helping him discover which way his chakra naturally flowed, and he worked from there. Within about 2 weeks of non-stop training, Naruto managed to learn the Rasengan. It took hard work and dedication, but all of the training he had done in attempting to learn the Gentle Fist had caused him to excel at this form of training and led to his quick mastery of it. And it was just in time too, as the Chunin exams were beginning. Jiraiya stayed close by, but remained at a distance. He did not interfere with the exams at all. During the mental portion of the exams, including the written test, Jiraiya kept himself disguised as a jonin and aide of the proctor. Once that was finished, he would be granted special permission to enter the Forest of Death, so long as he remained undetected and at a distance so as to not muddy the results of the test. After that, however, he was forced to remain in the stands as the Chunin exams continued into the exhibition matches. This wasn't too big of a deal. He didn't have to disguise or remain undetected. He could merely sit in the stands and watch, ever present should Naruto need help. He gazed around and also saw the Anbu agents who had been watching Naruto. This truly was an ironclad defense. Anyone would be hard-pressed to get through it. As the matches continued, however, Konoha forces found themselves surprised when strange shinobi bearing what appeared to be the particular masks of the Kiri Hunter Nin appeared around the stadium. They began to rush Naruto. Jiraiya jumped from the stands into the arena and began to strike back. The shinobi also began to overwhelm the Anbu. Naruto and Jiraiya stood back to back. Naruto had his gentle fist at the ready, all while Jiraiya kept his own hands up. They would strike out at the shinobi, and upon one being struck, it would disappear in a poof. The onslaught continued. Naruto began to notice this trend, however. "Master, they're disappearing when struck." Jiraiya acknowledged this. "Indeed. It appears that we're fighting an army of shadow clones. The real body must be nearby, but who?" As they continued to fight, it became obvious that they were going to be overwhelmed. "We gotta escape. We can't keep this up." He grabbed Naruto's hand and began to run toward the back rooms. Rasengan in hand, he smashed it into a group of shadow clones, causing them all to pop like balloons. He rounded the corner. "We need to get to the sewers." "The sewers? But why?" Jiraiya looked back. "It's the escape route Lord Third laid out for us. He told me that any time your life is in danger, I needed to get you out of the village." They ran further and came to a manhole cover. They got down into it and began to make their way through, following the sewage out of the village. Once out, they continued to run without looking back. Back at the exams, with Naruto no longer in view, the shadow clones gave up the chase. Each disappeared in a poof of smoke, ending the assault as quickly as it began. Hiruzen stood there catching his breath. He came to the box's window and looked down. The other 4 Kage stood behind him and demanded to know what was going on. "A group has been after our tailed beast for a while. They're chasing our Jinchuriki." Suddenly, an Anbu agent walked in. "Lord Third, Jiraiya and Naruto have disappeared." Hiruzen was startled. "They're gone. Are you sure?" The agent nodded. "This is strange," he thought to himself, slowly beginning to worry about their safety. "I hope they weren't followed." Neji was sleeping in bed when the commotion caused him to wake up. He looked back at his wound, which had been stitched together. The flesh was attempting to heal, and it was almost guaranteed that he would have a horrible scar where the wound once was. He stepped outside, only to be met by Toneri. "What's going on?" Neji asked. Toneri turned to Neji. "There's been an attack at the site of the Chunin exams. Naruto's gone missing." Neji's eyes widened. "Oh no." Hiyashi was sitting at a table. The various members of the Hyuga clan were sitting nearby. Hiyashi stood and attached a map to the wall. "We are going to spread out the search for Naruto and Jiraiya. Hiruzen said that they should be at any of these designated extraction points." He pointed to various X's across the map. "These are the targets. Spread out and search for them." Hiyashi showed them an image of Naruto and Jiraiya. He pinned it to the wall by the map. "If you locate either of them, let the communications team know you have. Let them know the state they're in, and be prepared to administer first aid should either be wounded. After that, pop off a flare. Green for finding them safe, and red if they're injured or worse. It's paramount that we find them. Once you and your squad make it to your location, spread out in all directions and check in a grid pattern until you receive word that they've been located. Dismissed." The Hyuga clan shinobi stood and began to leave. As they did, Neji stepped forward. "Uncle." Hiyashi looked back. "Shouldn't you be in bed?" Neji looked at the map. "What's this? Was Naruto taken by the enemy?" Hiyashi shook his head. "No, he's been escorted out of the village by his personal guard." Neji looked at the image. "Then why did you put up a picture of our assailant?" Hiyashi turned back. "What?" Neji pulled down the picture of Jiraiya. "This man was the one that attacked us." Hiyashi was startled. "I thought you said he was wearing a mask." Neji looked at the picture again. He was, but the mask only covered from his nose up, and he wore a hood, but he had the same eyes and the same beard. "I'm adamant that this is the man who killed my team." Hiyashi looked at Neji in horror. "I need to contact Hiruzen." Naruto and Jiraiya kept running. Naruto looked back. "Where are we going?" he asked, his voice just barely audible above the pouring rain and thunder. Jiraiya didn't respond, he just kept running. Eventually they came to a stop at a particular spot. There were no buildings around or settlements, it was completely deserted. They stepped under a tree to get out of the pouring rain. There they waited for a few good hours until eventually the rain let up and the sun peeked out from the clouds. Sunset was upon them, and the roaring storm had given way to a calm and peaceful twilight. Eventually, a man met up with them. A man in a white robe with a black diamond-shaped mark on his chin. "Well done, Koji. This is indeed the target." Naruto seemed confused. "Koji? What does he mean by this, Jiraiya-sensei? Who is this man?" Jiraiya, or as the cat outside of the bag was now known, Koji, turned back to Naruto and put a hand on his shoulder. "It's nothing. It's time for you to go to sleep." With a quick tightening of his grip, he pinched a pressure point. Naruto's face let off the appearance that it was in sudden pain, but despite that, he didn't have time to cry out as his eyes immediately rolled up in his head. He fell back. Hinata was in her room and putting on her gear. She strapped her shuriken belt to her leg and tied her Konoha forehead protector around her neck. At the door, Toneri was standing there. "Where are you going, Hinata?" She looked back. "To find Naruto." She stepped past. "I'm going to go with you," Toneri said. She looked back. "Toneri, I have to get him back, she said as tears began to drip from her face. I can't ask you to help. I know that. He stepped forward and put his hand on her head. Unrequited love truly is tragic, but it will never change the way I feel about you. Whether you return the feeling or not, my love for you will continue to grow and spread roots. I know you're destined for another, and while that hurts, I love you too much to deny your happiness. I will give my life to reunite you and Naruto, so please, let me help. Suddenly, Neji stepped out. I'm going as well. Naruto is my brother, and I won't let anyone take him away from us. That, and I'm craving a little revenge. Hinata looked at him. But, Neji, your wounds aren't completely healed yet. He scoffed. I will avenge my team and send the man who killed them to hell personally, even if I have to go there with him. Without any more objection, they left the compound to search for Naruto. They returned to the arena where he was last seen. If it was true that Naruto's personal guard was the one actually threatening him all along, then they realized that likely they wouldn't go back to any of the previously discussed locations. They decided to go back to where they last saw him. There, they noticed Naruto's shoe prints in the dirt of the ground. They followed them. This led to the back rooms. Naruto left a particular trail behind him. This trail consisted of loose strands of blonde hair, of which precious few people in the village had, as well as the remaining mud on his shoes from the Forest of Death. This led them to a manhole cover. They went down the hatch into the sewers below. Here, it was nearly impossible to track him, but what they could do was use logical assumption to deduce a course. Realizing that they wanted to get out of the village as soon as possible, whatever pathway would lead out of the village in the quickest way was the one they would choose. So they followed it. Coming out of the sewers on the other side, their correct choice was rewarded with more footprints. Hinata smiled. Tracking through the rain isn't as hard as some make it out to be. When the soil is soft, it's easier to receive footprints, and I know these are Naruto's. They chased on after them. Naruto's eyes would open inside of a strange mansion, or what looked to be a mansion anyway. The man he had seen before was still there. He turned around and noticed that Naruto had awakened. He came towards him. Welcome to my abode. I am known as Jogan to most, but few know me by my true name, Ishiki Otsutsuki. Naruto looked around. What's going on? Where's Jiraiya-sensei? Ishiki scoffed a laugh. Jiraiya is dead, killed in his home about 2 weeks ago. If you mean your escort, that would be Koji Kashin, our genetically modified clone of Jiraiya. Superior in every way, minus the negative personality traits that hobbled Jiraiya's true power. Naruto was confused and it was obvious, so Ishiki, feeling generous, decided to explain. See, we wanted to get our hands on you, so we put Koji on mission. He ended up killing a team of genin and their master searching for you. He intentionally left one alive and was sure to mention you as the host of the Demon Fox. That was to get the Leaf worried. It was our hope that they would send you to Jiraiya to stay, but unfortunately you needed to stay for the tuning exams. That was where a wrench was thrown into our plan. But Koji compensated well. He waited until the right moment when security was lax before he utilized his shadow clones to feign an attack on you. He used that confusion as cover to get you, our delivery, to me. At current, they're looking for you. It seems they caught on, but by the time they find you, it won't matter anymore. Naruto seemed startled to think that he was hanging out with the one who had hurt Neji so badly. But he knew my parents. Ishiki laughed. No, he merely repeated a line from a history book verbatim. You were none the wiser. Naruto looked around. So what now? You plan to take my tailed beast? Ishiki shook his head. No, that was but a farce. We do not want anything to do with your tailed beast. Naruto was obviously confused. Ishiki, under the guise of Jigen, knelt down before him. You don't understand how truly special you are, Naruto. When we freed the tailed beast from your mother all those years ago, it was not to steal it. It was to use it as a distraction. It seems you have truly no clue what you are, but I will teach you. He undid Naruto's shackles. Follow me. Naruto followed Ishiki through the mansion. Ishiki pulled a book from the shelf. He opened it up and began to read into it. What do you know about your dojutsu, the so-called Jogan? Naruto shook his head. Nothing. Ishiki flipped through the pages. I thought not. Your view into Otsutsuki history is nowhere near complete. The Jogan is a dojutsu that is strongly inherited from the Otsutsuki. Only few can truly awaken it, and only one in history ever has. His name was Shibai. Shibai Otsutsuki. Naruto listened to this. Ishiki looked back at him. Shibai was a powerful Otsutsuki. Like most of us, he possessed the Byakugan, but the more he ate, the more he consumed worlds, the more his eyes developed, the more they evolved. They continued to evolve until one day his Byakugan evolved into the Jogan, powerful dojutsu that can see beyond the confines of a 3D universe into the 4th, 5th, and dimensions beyond. It was said that once he awakened this, he shed his mortal coil and became the Otsutsuki god. He ascended to a higher dimension that makes this one seem trivial. The Otsutsuki clan venerated him as the peak of evolution, the ultimate life form, and we sought to replicate it, but never quite could. But a prophecy was foretold that Shibai would one day return to us, and the eyes that see the reality beyond reality would lead the way and bring all Otsutsuki to enlightenment. He would reincarnate, and his reincarnation would possess a calling card, the Jogan. Naruto's eyes widened. Ishiki smiled. Yes, that's right. It's you, Naruto, the Otsutsuki that absorbed thousands upon thousands of worlds, civilizations. He is reincarnated into you. You are that Otsutsuki, and I will claim that power for myself. I will become the new Otsutsuki god and will lead our people. This universe will be eradicated, then the next, until we eventually have become one with everything. Various Kara members show up. Take him to the holding cells. I don't want my precious vessel escaping me. Hinata and the others follow the footprints to a fork in the road. It was there that Naruto's footprints disappeared. But a second pair of footprints appeared instead. They lingered only for a moment before going in two very different directions. Hinata looked. I don't know where to go next. Neji came through and looked around. We follow the ones on the left. How do you know? Asked Toneri. Neji pointed. Notice how these shoe prints are deeper than the ones they originated from. This insinuates there was an increase in weight. The other ones don't get any deeper. This means that the one who made these here likely picked Naruto up and began to walk off. These are the ones we follow. Hinata nodded. Lead the way. The group began to follow the footprints further until it led them to an underground facility. Sneaking in, they found that they were in what appeared to be an underground mansion. It had plenty of paintings, and the floors were covered in fine carpet and marble tiles. The paintings depicted strange scenery they had never seen before. As they moved in, Toneri activated his Tenseigan. Stronger than the Byakugan, he knew that his X-ray vision should be able to pass through plenty more walls. So as they moved forward, they let Toneri lead. I think I found Naruto. He's just beyond the next set of doors in a holding cell. They rushed through. Entering a massive room, they found themselves trapped. The doors closed behind them as Kara soldiers flooded in, led by Koji Kashin. Neji sneered. You. Koji stood there. I won't let you interfere with our hopes of reaching true enlightenment. If you stand against us, you will be destroyed. Neji entered his fighting stance. You killed my team. For that, I will kill you. You can't do this alone, Toneri said as he looked around at various soldiers lining the room. Neji nodded. True, but we shouldn't stall the search for Naruto. We need to open Hinata a path to escape. Toneri agreed with this plan. He immediately entered Tenseigan Chakra mode and summoned his Truth Seeker orbs. He fired them off in all directions, causing the ground to shake and smoke to pour through the room. One set of doors was knocked off its hinges. Toneri pointed toward it. Go that way, Hinata. Save Naruto. She nodded and began to rush through the doors. Neji looked to Toneri. I'll take the one with the white hair. You destroy the soldiers. Toneri nodded. Hinata rushed through and found two Kara agents in her way. Utilizing the gentle fist, she took them down in no more than 5 blows. She pilfered from one of them the key to Naruto's cell. She ran over and used it to open the door. Stepping in, she saw Naruto bound to the floor by shackles. She walked over and grabbed his face to look at him to see if he was okay. He looked away from her, trying to hide the tears in his eyes. This confused her, but it also worried her. She gently pulled his face back to look at it. Naruto, what's wrong? He opened his eyes to look at her. I'm a monster. She was confused by this. Huh? He sniffled a little. I finally figured out what my dojutsu is. And it's only used by an Otsutsuki or their reincarnation. I'm the reincarnation of a devil. She wiped the tears from his face as he explained the situation. How Shibai had slaughtered countless billions in his mad search for power. And how his evil had rewarded him with enlightenment. And how Shibai was prophesied to return and resume his slaughter. Hinata shook her head. No, that's not you, Naruto. Even if that is who this Shibai fellow was, it's not Naruto. He shook his head. No, it is. I finally realized why death follows me everywhere I go. This is divine punishment for everything I did in the past. I'm going to lose myself when Shibai awakens inside of me, and then I'll kill everything that I love. I don't want to do that. I don't want to hurt you. She quickly unshackled him and helped him stand. Please, Hinata, just kill me. I don't want to be this anymore. She didn't say a word. She merely helped him through. They returned to the main room where Neji and Toneri were fighting Koji. All of Koji's men had been defeated. They were no chance against Toneri. Toneri and Neji were now fighting against Koji alone. They clashed and were pushed back. Neji and Toneri were almost out of breath, as was Koji. Koji fell on his knees, wounds across his body. Eventually, a door opened and Ishiki in the form of Jigen appeared. Koji looked up. Master, fight with me. We can destroy them together. Suddenly, a black rod was pushed through Koji's heart. Jigen lowered to his level and whispered in his ear. I've told you, I don't tolerate failure. He pulled it from Koji and discarded it. He looked to see Toneri. Ah, those eyes, that form, the reincarnation of that traitor Kaguya's grandson. Hamada, I believe his name was. The one possessing the chakra that I so richly deserved. He looked over to see Hinata and Naruto. Where are you going, Shibai? What's wrong? Don't you want to lead us into a new world? With that, Toneri rushed into battle. Do not ever antagonize my brother. So easily, Jigen pushed the attack aside. You don't seem to understand. Just because you inherited the power Kaguya had, do not for a moment believe yourself superior to me in any way. Neji also rushed off to attack, but he was also effortlessly knocked away. Hinata sat Naruto down. Rest here, Naruto. I need to help the others. She then rushed over with her twin lion's fist. She struck out at him, and Jigen believed this to be truly fascinating. A new technique. A chakra-absorbing feature, it seems. Interesting, but foolish. Jigen activated one of the deeper levels of his karma seal to awaken power closer to his original body. It had limited time usage, but he didn't care. He wanted to finish this fight quickly so he could brand Naruto with a new seal and transfer his soul to that one. He knocked Hinata away. Hinata rolled across the floor and came to a stop. Jigen began to walk toward her. I don't have time to play these games. He suddenly rushed towards her as he used Sukuna Hikona to retrieve another chakra rod. He went to stab her with it, but Toneri saw this and ran toward her. He wasn't thinking of anything except keeping her safe. He jumped in the way as the chakra rod came closer. He closed his eyes and prepared for the end. There was the sound of snapping bone and pierced flesh, but there was no pain. Toneri opened his eyes to see Neji there. No! Toneri cried out. Neji fell to his knees, his chest perforated. Jigen sighed. Well, I had another target planned, but I suppose I was going to kill you anyway. So all you did was change the order. Hinata saw this and screamed, Neji! Naruto's eyes widened as he saw Jigen pull the chakra rod from Neji. Neji hit the ground. No! Neji! Neji! Jigen looked over. Naruto's Jogan was active. Veins were popping out beside of it as he gripped his head. He grit his teeth as saliva foamed from his mouth. He was in such emotional pain that his body hurt. It felt like all of his chakra would burn through his flesh and explode. But to his surprise, such a thing was happening. He was beginning to glow. Jigen looked about as the entire mountain shook around them. He looked back at Naruto. Within his subconscious, Naruto was being blinded by an incomprehensible amount of light. Within that brightness, though, he made out 3 eyes. A Rinnegan, a Senrigan, and a Jogan. No, please don't do it! In reality, Naruto was covered in a bright blue light. He stood there. No features could be made out except for 3 eyes. 1 in each socket and 1 on his forehead. His body was so hot that the air around it seemed to cook. Steam was pouring off of him. Jigen laughed. It's him. He's revived. Shibai Otsutsuki. Around them all, what looked like tiny universes began to appear. What was this? Portals? No. It was the universes of lower dimensions being made visible. Lower dimensional universes expanded in size to be seen, while upper dimensional universes were shrunk to be visible as well. As the being stepped forward, 2 more portals opened up, one above Shibai and Jigen and one below. Looking down into the lower mirror, Jigen noticed that the reflections between the 2 went on forever, but the ones below him showed every action in the past he had ever done, and the one above showed him every action in the future he would ever do, and there were painfully few moments left. Jigen's eyes widened as he realized the truth of the situation. He immediately assumed his true form. He had but 3 days to live until his body broke down and crumbled to ash, but that should be more than enough time to take the body of Shibai. He formed a chakra rod and went to stab Shibai with it. The rod disintegrated as it struck his face. Ishiki's eyes widened as he realized just how wide the gulf between their two powers were. There was a shine in his eyes. Shibai's hand was now moved. He had moved faster than the eye could see. If one were to truly know how fast he had moved, it would be faster than light, faster than time itself. Shibai was merely waiting for time to catch up. Looking up, Ishiki could see the darkness coming fast. Just before then, he witnessed in the reflection his intestines exploding from his body as time recoiled to catch up with Shibai's actions. Ishiki looked to Shibai. "No! Save me!" A deep voice that seemed to echo from around them spoke. "It's too late. You're already dead. All that is left is for reality to realize that." Suddenly, Ishiki's intestines exploded from his body as his upper half and lower half fell in two totally different directions. Shibai simply stood there over his body. Within Naruto's mind, he was crying in the bright light as the towering Otsutsuki god loomed over him. The voice of the being spoke. "Why do you cry, my child?" Naruto shook his head and looked up. "Because I'm a monster! You're a monster!" The being stood there and nodded. "In my past, I was foolish, evil, misguided. I lacked enlightenment." Naruto looked up. "In my hubris, I forced myself to evolve further and further, but I never understood true evolution. One's body matters very little. It's the soul that counts, who you are on the inside. After years of consuming, I was never filled, never content. It was never enough. Then I came to realize that it was not because I needed to evolve more. I had not evolved as a person. I began to question what life was for. What was it about? What did it mean for an Otsutsuki like myself? The path we walked had no end, and the dream we sought was but a mirage. We could never become perfect on our own." Naruto listened in confusion. Shibai continued, "Look at this." He allowed Naruto to see through their shared eyes. Hinata stood in front of Naruto, shaking him. "Please, Naruto, wake up! Don't leave me! I love you!" Shibai spoke. "Your people are truly far more evolved than mine ever were. Your sage of six paths truly was close to enlightenment. I came to learn that, and so too must our clan." The figure appeared before Naruto, possessing the same face, clothes, and voice as him, the only difference being that it possessed two Jogan. "Will you help me, Naruto?" Hinata cried on his shoulder. "Please, Naruto, wake up! Don't leave me!" She pushed her head forward and pressed her lips against his. Tears streamed down her face. As their lips touched, slowly the light faded, and the dimensions that had appeared disappeared as quickly as they came. Naruto almost passed out, but was caught by Hinata. She cried with joy. "Oh, Naruto!" Naruto stood. He looked at her square in the eyes. "Where is Neji?" She led him over. Neji was on the ground, barely awake. "Naruto." Naruto took his hand. "I'm here." Neji looked at him. "Did we do it? Did we avenge my team?" Tears streamed from Naruto's eyes. "Indeed, we did." Neji smiled. "Tell Uncle that I did well. I protected Hinata as was my mandate." Naruto nodded. "I will tell him." Neji smiled. "I see them. Guy, Lee, Tenten." He breathed out and his soul left his body. The tears shed for Neji were bitter and full of sorrow. Why did he have to die for this? They returned to Konoha together with his body. Hiyashi welcomed them home with a worried hug, and together they grieved over Neji. His name was inscribed into the monument for Konoha's fallen heroes. It became obvious that Naruto's new role in the universe wasn't here, however. He remained on Earth just long enough to see Hinata as his wife. He then, along with Teneri, took to the stars. They would search out their Otsutsuki brethren and teach them what Shibai had learned. They would save civilization after civilization from the terror of the Otsutsuki. That was their role. And when he took time off, he would return to Earth to be with his beloved. And through their union, two new lives were born. Boruto Hyuga, named after Neji, and Himawari Hyuga. Peace would return to the world and slowly would spread to every world. And eventually, in years to come, the whole universe might know peace. And that's the end of our story. I hope you enjoyed it. I had so much fun writing this one, and while I know that it likely will never make it to canon, it's nice to think that while everyone fears Shibai, that perhaps he actually isn't anything to fear. After all, if he obtained enlightenment, perhaps that means he became a good guy. But that being said, Naruto would probably be a boring series if that happened. I know that I strayed from canon with the Jogan's abilities, but I did heavily inspire it from official sources. You see, in Boruto, it can see dark chakra and it can even see pathways to other dimensions. I just went wild with that and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like the video and leave a comment. I'm looking forward to discussing with you this what if, what you think could have been done differently, or what your favorite moments were. Until the next Infinite Tsukiyomi, peace out.
Did you enjoy our video? Well then be sure to check out these other great videos from the Amagi, and make sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.